If there is any African leader who likes to make unconventional decisions, it is President Traore of Burkina Faso. Since he came to power, he has been doing things that are not part of the status quo. From distancing the country from the West to withdrawing from ECOWAS, Traore has proven over and over again that he is not the typical leader. And once again, he has proven how different he thinks from other African leaders with his recent decision. In a bid to achieve his vision of food self-sufficiency, Traore has transformed prisoners of Burkina Faso into farmers. What a revolutionary move! But how is he doing it? And what is the impact on the Burkinabe economy? Let's find out. Last week, the Burkinabe Minister of Justice and Human Rights, Mr. Adaso Rodrigua, paid a visit to the Bapora Prison Center, a correctional facility in Burkina Faso that has been transformed into a large-scale agricultural site. The minister was impressed by what he saw. Vast fields of wheat, maize, and rice had been cultivated by the inmates at the facility. Speaking after the tour, the Minister of Justice stated, "This is the first time that this facility has reached such a level of agricultural production. What you see is a result of the presidential initiative for food self-sufficiency and the agricultural offensive launched by the Ministry of Agriculture. The vision of the head of state is clear. Burkina Faso must produce what it consumes and ensure that we never rely on foreign aid again." What a remarkable speech, but that's not all. In his speech, the minister noted that about 90% of the Burkinabe population is made up of young people. Sadly, the poor economic and security situation has led to a high level of unemployment, which in turn has led to a high rate of crime perpetrated by young people. These people are forced to resort to crime in order to survive. But then the crime level has drastically increased the population of those in the prisons. However, instead of letting the prisoners who are still members of the Burkinabe society be unproductive, Traore's administration has decided to turn things around by adopting a new system. This system ensures that the prison system is a productive arm of the economy. Most of the prisoners are young, able-bodied men and women who have the strength and ability to be productive and useful to themselves and society. As such, the government of Burkina Faso has decided to turn some of them into farmers, producing food for the nation. But it's not just about producing food for the nation. It also equips the prisoners with skills that will earn them a living when they eventually leave prison. Before we proceed, here is a reminder to like this video, drop a comment, and subscribe to our channel so that you can get more videos like this. But how does this system work? Under this system, the government introduced a new law on community service whereby some prisoners were given the option to work in agricultural farms in exchange for sentence reduction. For example, 1 month of community service could reduce a prisoner's sentence by 3 months. So not only are the prisoners gaining skills under this system, but they are also developing discipline and a sense of responsibility, both of which are necessary to successfully integrate into society. This in turn will help to reduce the chances of the prisoners returning back to crime. Now, at the time the Minister of Justice paid a visit to Bapora Prison Center, the correctional facility had 80 inmates dedicated to full-time farming. But what's more interesting is that during the rainy season, an additional 180 inmates will be mobilized to increase production. Currently, a new 500-seat detention center is under construction. This will be used to train more inmates in different agricultural areas. According to the Director General of Bapora Prison Center, Sabila Sourdogo, the inmates have thrown their support behind the program so much that they oversee the security of the fields and watch over it themselves. This is remarkable. At the Bapora prison, the inmates have cultivated potatoes, maize, and rice fields, and all the fields are thriving. How many African leaders have thought of this kind of initiative? It is highly unfortunate that despite the vast fertile lands that Africa is blessed with, the continent has not yet achieved the goal of food self-sufficiency. According to the 2022 Global Report on Food Crises, about 140 million people in Africa face acute food insecurity, and at least 1 in 5 Africans go hungry to bed. The situation is especially bad in places where insecurity and insurgency are prevalent because citizens are forced to leave their farms and their homes to seek safety elsewhere. This situation has become so bad that most African countries have become highly dependent on foreign aid and imports of food products to sustain their growing population. It is painful and heartbreaking because Africa has all it needs to become food self-sufficient. So what exactly is the problem? Well, it's because agriculture in Africa has not been given the proper attention it deserves. The agriculture sector is dominated by subsistence farmers who produce crops with simple tools mostly for their personal needs. This means that what is produced in the continent is not enough to feed the population, hence the reason for high food imports. The governments in African countries have not been able to establish policies and programs that can effectively organize these subsistence farmers into major producers of food. Of course, every year, agricultural policies and programs are initiated, but the majority of these programs end up being abandoned halfway, or the farmers who ought to enjoy the benefits of the program do not get to enjoy it. However, the fact is, with the right government, farming techniques, and investments that are properly managed, Africa can produce more than enough food for itself and even export to the world. And it is important for Africa to achieve food sufficiency because there is a need to change the narrative and image of the continent as poor, needy, and always seeking help. Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso caught this vision, and in the short time he was in power, he launched aggressive programs to enable Burkina Faso achieve food sufficiency, undertook a form of land redistribution, encouraging rural subsistence and the growth of local rice, maize, and millet. Eating imported rice, maize, and millet was a form of imperialism, and to the amazement of the world, Sankara's work paid off. By 1987, production of cereals in Burkina Faso had risen to 1.6 billion tons, leading Jean Ziegler, then UN Special Rapporteur for the Right to Food, to declare, "Thomas Sankara has conquered hunger." It has meant that Burkina Faso, in 4 years, has become food self-sufficient. The interesting thing is that Thomas Sankara achieved food self-sufficiency for Burkina Faso without the help of any foreign government. Now, even though Sankara's dream was cut short as a result of his death, leading the country to become dependent on food aid, there is hope once again because of Ibrahim Traore, the current military leader of Burkina Faso. From his speech to his actions, it is obvious that the young leader is inspired by the ideals of Thomas Sankara and is committed to following in his footsteps. Just like Thomas Sankara, Ibrahim Traore is passionate about achieving food sufficiency for Burkina Faso. In one of his most famous speeches during the Russian-African Summit, which catapulted him into the world spotlight, Captain Traore wondered why the African continent was poor despite its abundant resources, and urged African leaders to stop their beggary attitude and focus on achieving food self-sufficiency, a goal he plans to achieve. This is why, since he became president of Burkina Faso, Traore has been working hard to achieve his goal. As a matter of fact, part of Traore's goal for the year 2024 was to achieve food self-sufficiency. To achieve this, his administration went all out on 2 major agricultural programs launched in 2023, called Operation Agro-Pastoral Offensive and the Presidential Initiative for Food Self-Sufficiency. In February 2024, Traore's administration launched an African Development Bank-supported project to bolster food security in the country against the impacts of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Called the Emergency Project for Increasing Agricultural Production in Burkina Faso, the African Development Bank Group provided 38.4 million euros to help achieve the project. It also plans to supply nearly 9,000 tons of certified climate-adapted seeds to 330,000 farmers, which will help increase production of maize, rice, soya, cowpea, sorghum, and wheat. The implementation of the program is expected to boost national rice production by 430,000 tons and maize production by 707,000 tons, as well as increase other crop yields. Interestingly, this project complements the Operation Agro-Pastoral Offensive launched last year. And guess what? Rice production increased from 280,000 metric tons to 326,000 metric tons in 2024. Tomato production increased from 315,000 metric tons in 2022 to 360,000 metric tons in 2024. Millet production rose from 907,000 metric tons in 2022 to 1.1 million metric tons in 2024. In March 2024, Traore allocated equipment and agricultural inputs worth more than 78 billion CFA francs to local producers in a move aimed at enhancing agricultural productivity in Burkina Faso. The distribution of farming equipment to local producers is part of the government's efforts to promote food self-sufficiency and bolster the agro-pastoral and fisheries sectors. Under the leadership of Traore, A significant increase in support for agro-silvopastoral producers has been announced for the year 2024. President Traore highlighted the substantial scale-up in resources, stating that the equipment and fertilizers provided this year far surpassed previous allocations. This year, we are making available twice the amount of equipment compared to 2023 and over 5 times the average quantity distributed in the past 5 years. Similarly, the provision of chemical fertilizers will see an allocation of approximately 68,900 tons, more than double the amount distributed in 2023 and over 5 times the average of the past 5 years, he said. The equipment includes 400 tractors, 239 tillers, and 710 motor pumps. In addition, 70,000 motorcycles were acquired for the benefit of agricultural agents who will be tasked with the responsibility of providing assistance to the farmers. The government also provided agricultural production inputs including 10,000 tons of fish feed, 68964 tons of fertilizers, 10,000 liters of phytosanitary product, 18,000 tons of plant seeds, 2,300 tons of fodder seeds, and 10,000 tons of concentrated feed. President Traore went on to encourage the youths to engage in agriculture and emphasized the presence of focal points in various regions who will be providing assistance to aspiring producers. This initiative underscores the government's commitment to supporting local farmers and driving agricultural development across Burkina Faso. Still, in March, the president donated a large mass of land to the students in Burkina Faso who were interested in agriculture. The aim of this objective was to empower the students to plant and sell crops, thereby generating a source of income for themselves. According to the reports, each of the students was granted 2 hectares of land flan which they could farm, and after some time, he paid a visit to the agricultural farms located in Bagre, situated in the eastern central part of Burkina Faso. The aim of this visit was to observe and evaluate the progress of the agricultural students who are currently undergoing training at these farms. During his visit, Traore was given a tour of the farm and he witnessed firsthand the various agricultural practices and procedures taught and implemented by the students. Traore showed his excitement at the level of dedication and commitment displayed by the students and commended them for their efforts in contributing to the agricultural sector of the country. He went further to express his satisfaction with the progress made by the students and assured them of the government's commitment to supporting the agricultural sector. This move by Traore is a testament to his commitment to the development of the agricultural sector in Burkina Faso, and there is no doubt that his efforts would have a positive impact on the economy by increasing agricultural production and generating employment opportunities. The lands given to the students will enable them to either grow crops or raise livestock, which will contribute to national food security and reduce dependence on imported food products. But for President Traore, everyone must be productive. This is why he established a system that involved prison inmates in developing Burkina Faso's agricultural sector. Indeed, President Traore is a remarkable leader who likes to make unconventional decisions. Perhaps this is why Western media has called Traore a dictator. Throughout the years he has been president of Burkina Faso, Traore has made certain decisions that have made some people angry. One such decision was when Traore's government announced last year that he plans to reinstate the death penalty. As you can imagine, every Western media carried the news, including Human Rights Watch, with all of them saying that it's an abuse of human rights. But the most important question is, why did Traore consider reinstating the death penalty? Burkina Faso once operated the death penalty, but it was eventually abolished from the Burkinabe Penal Code in 2018. The last executions to have happened in Burkina Faso was carried out in September 1988 by the administration of former President Blaise Compaoré. This execution resulted in the death of 4 Burkinabe politicians who were accused of orchestrating a coup against Compaoré. The politicians include the defense minister, Jean-Baptiste Boucari, the minister of economic promotion, Henri Zongo, and 2 unidentified men. However, under President Traore's administration, there are hints that the death penalty would be reinstated. Although there is currently no timeline for when it would be reinstated, it was revealed that the government is currently discussing the restoration of the death penalty before making a proposal to the Transitional Legislative Assembly for adoption. The Burkinabe Minister of Justice, Minister Adaso Rodrigua, confirmed this when he said that the issue of the death penalty is being discussed and will be implemented in a new criminal code to follow the vision and instructions of the head of state, Captain Ibrahim Traore. So the question is, why will a leader like Traore consider establishing the death penalty? Well, firstly, according to judicial and civil society sources in Burkina Faso, Traore plans to apply the death penalty to terrorism-related crimes. As you know, Burkina Faso has been dealing with insecurity and terrorism for a long time, perpetuated by Islamic jihadist groups. This has led to the death of thousands of people, with many more displaced and injured. And the president has been hard at work trying to combat this crisis, which external militaries such as France could not solve. So the death penalty is simply another way of combating the insecurity and terrorism in Burkina Faso. This means that anyone caught, including Burkinabe citizens involved in terrorism acts, will be subjected to the death penalty. In addition to this, President Traore has been faced with opposition from every side since he took over power in Burkina Faso. If you recall, Traore has experienced more than 10 coups since he became president, and most of the coups were orchestrated with traitors in the military and even civilians. The 10th coup, for instance, was orchestrated by the former military junta of Burkina Faso, Paul-Henri Damiba. Interestingly, this man is currently in exile in Togo, but it was from Togo that he orchestrated the wicked plot together with some high-profile individuals in Burkina Faso to overthrow Traore. At the time it occurred, it was revealed that the plan involved collaborating with insurgents and terrorists to launch attacks against the government and civilians. The popular Bachalogo incidents, which claimed hundreds of civilian lives and soldiers, was part of the plot. All of this was to weaken the leadership of Traore and make it seem as if he was not competent enough to lead Burkina Faso. Thankfully, some of those involved were caught and the plot was stopped. In this situation, these individuals involved in this deadly plot certainly deserve the death penalty. So, introducing the death penalty will serve as a deterrent for any Burkinabe citizen who wants to get involved in any destabilization plot. However, the West, which believes in democracy, freedom of speech, and justice, has demanded that Traore drop the idea of reinstating the death penalty. In fact, Human Rights Watch recently released an article where it wrote, Burkina Faso has genuine security concerns but should recognize the death penalty's inherent cruelty and reject any plans to reinstate it. But our question is, how is it any of their concern? These people have called Traore a dictator, and according to the dictionary, a dictator is someone who holds absolute power. But if the dictator is leading the nation on the right path, doesn't that count for something? It certainly does. Supposing Traore was one of those African leaders who are known for their corruption and luxury lifestyle at the expense of those citizens, then introducing the death penalty will certainly be a problem. However, since he came to power, Traore has proven that he is very different from the usual type of African leaders we know. His entire focus and priority is to see Burkina Faso safe again and achieve self-sufficiency in every aspect. How can a leader like this be termed a dictator? Well, as we said earlier, whenever a leader or a country does something that goes against what the West believes is right, that leader is automatically termed a dictator. But regardless of what they believe, the most important thing is that the people of Burkina Faso and Africans in general love President Traore and support him. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments section below. Don't forget to like this video, drop a comment, and share.